Recording. Hi, I'm John from Broadsheet.ie, and you're very welcome to Tomorrow Tonight. We're honoured to be joined by. Oh, am I on mute? Can you hear me?
Oh, you're fine. You're
Oh,
fine.
you're fine. Good. We're joined by Dan Boyle from Cork, Green Party councillor, Green Party veteran, and Broadsheet columnist. Although no column today, Dan. Very busy.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I've involved myself. I've acquired another hat. I'm now an alternate member of the EU Committee of the Regions. So the first meeting came up this week, and it kind of upset my schedules and thought patterns. But
That's,
it's not major, but it keeps me interested, anyways.
is that the regions in terms of how is that?
It's kind of the local government arm of the EU. So anyone involved in regional government or local government, they're appointed by national governments, and then they express their opinions. No decision making power. It's just
Oh.
they're asked their views on things that are decided elsewhere in the EU. So.
And had there been a British contingent prior to?
There had been, yeah. And in fact, the Green Group is new, and because just like in Ireland, the Greens in other European countries had a presence in their national parliaments before they had a stronger one in local governments. So in a lot of countries, the Greens are just building up that critical mass still, kind of 30, 40 years down the road. But there's 25 in the group. So yeah, it's a comfort exercise as much as anything else, I think.
Is it all by Zoom, or do you get to meet them?
Oh God, to this stage, yeah. They would ordinarily meet in Brussels, but it looks like I'm going to be spending my time here rather than there. I've been to Brussels before, so I don't think I'm missing out on that much.
No. And do you get a lot of calls from constituents at the moment? I mean, are you under pressure in terms of your, as a council?
It's a strange one in the sense that there's a lot of email contact, a lot of telephone calls. There's not as much face-to-face call. But there's a lot of requests for Zoom meetings or other platform meetings because you're not traveling from A to B as much as you would in other situations. Your time is filling up with more meetings, and I don't know if that's particularly productive, but that's just what's happening.
Yeah. And what would be the main complaints from constituents, or worries or fears or anything?
Well, yeah, sometimes it's just a social thing, they want to know the contact is there. In fairness to Cork City Council, they run a good community forum that connects people who are isolated in terms of if they need things brought to them, particularly medicines and things like that.
Yeah.
So that it's kind of a joint venture with voluntary groups around the city, and that's the type of thing you get as a result of COVID, and that's what you try to respond to.
Yeah, and all the council meetings are still by Zoom, aren't they, at the moment?
Well, only since December they had to pass legislation because the standing orders we had insisted that statutory decisions had to be made physically. So they had to pass a piece of legislation that local councils can make those decisions now virtually now, whereas the Oireachtas itself can't because that's in the constitution.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So that's been sorted now. You're all Zoomers now, really.
Well, Zoom or Microsoft Teams or GoToWebinar. I think part of the problem is there's about half a dozen platforms that you find yourself on, and you never master any of them.
No, I know. I'm actually very impressed with Zoom, though. I have to say. I mean, compared to Google Hangouts or whatever. Should we crack into the papers?
Sure.
Dan, you can see that there, can you?
I kind of did, yeah. It's well, the main story is obviously about the nursing home and COVID's. I suppose the households variation is also hitting nursing homes in the sense that there was before Christmas, in between outbreaks, there was a relaxation in visiting, so that seems to have been the factor in terms of people being exposed. It doesn't seem to have been the reason that happened in the first outbreak, where people in nursing homes were brought into hospital and released unnecessarily and brought back into nursing homes when they were infected. I would hope that those lessons are learned. It's just that the isolation that had been
I think we've. I think we've lost Dan. Have we
Still
lost
occurring,
Dan?
yeah.
Sorry, we lost Dan.
Momentarily, your picture was like you lost me as well, did you?
We did, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Well,
No.
I was saying the secondary factor, of course, is the worry about the rollout of the vaccine program, in the sense that because there's uncertainty about how much vaccine is available and when it will be available, that could be a contributing factor as well. Although it
Yeah.
seems we're as close as possible towards ensuring that everyone in nursing homes are now vaccinated at least once, and nursing home staff as well as many of the hospital staff around the country. But the big question mark is when we get the next load of vaccines and how much they're going to be. And I think that's going to slow down the progress from here on in.
Okay, 181 nursing homes hit by virus outbreaks. This is despite the government's pledge that every resident would have received the initial jab last Sunday.
Well, I don't know if they're linked to that extent. I mean, the whole point of a vaccination program is to make sure that the risk doesn't occur in the future. This is obviously the risk that people were exposed to from mid-December into mid-January. So even before the vaccination program started, but it's not acceptable, and too many people have been put at risk, and obviously we've gone in the wrong direction. Although the overall figures are coming down, and they're coming down quite quickly. Proportionally now, ourselves in Northern Ireland seem to be on a similar level, and they have the advantage of vaccinating maybe a whole month in front of us as well.
Okay. XTD sues social media giant over damaging posts.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out who the XTD is, to be honest. It's
Frank O'Rourke, Fianna Fáil TD, Kildare North, apparently.
Well, he made such an impression in the last Doyle that I'm totally unfamiliar with him. So I think the reason for losing his seat may be more his anonymity than anything else, and not his notoriety.
Yeah, well, we must be careful what we say about him. This is a scene in Ballymun this afternoon in memory of Josh Dunn.
Oh, that was incredibly sad. And we've had a number of stabbing incidents. There was another one in Dublin today. I think it was someplace like Sutton.
This is the Irish Sun, actually, Dan. I think is this.
Oh, this is about Josh himself. Yeah.
No. This is a doctor. Yeah, no, this is another.
Oh, this is the man in Sutton. Yeah.
Well, actually, here a doctor was slashed in the neck and stomach as he made his way home. He was knifed during a suspected bid to steal a scooter 1.5 miles from where Josh Dunn was. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, when you have two of those incidents quite close to each other, people talk about it becoming endemic, because we would have had a situation in Limerick maybe 20, 30 years ago when those type of things were more common.
Yeah.
I mean, America has a problem with gun crime, and we've had a problem with gun crime ourselves here. I just hope it's not the start of a trend in relation to these type of incidences, and lives have been lost needlessly. It's not a lot you can say in those situations.
Josh seems like an amazing young man.
Quite the athlete apparently, and had quite the future ahead of him from what was being written, and well respected in many regards.
Yeah, there was a beautiful tribute to him at East Wall this morning, flowers and some football paraphernalia. Dara O'Brien, I don't know if you've been following this story regarding his mum, his birth mother.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, and there are people in my life who would have quite similar stories. A lot of people I know who would have been adopted around similar times. This is one of the side results of the mother and baby home report. As inadequate as that report has been, at least it's highlighting the fact that people are having to make these connections and having to find out stories about their own lives. And however difficult it has been for Dara, the fact that he's a prominent person, I think it's going to help overall for other people who find themselves in similar situations.
Yeah, and on that subject, not on that subject, but on some similar vein, Leo on his sexuality, I'd hope being gay was just a phase.
I'm not too sure what that's don't know, to be
I don't
honest.
know.
Is he suggesting if it was, it'd be a good thing, or he'd be better off?
No, no,
A strange quotation.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's very odd with
it kind
Leo.
of
When you hear him talk, it's as if he was sort of gay in the 1800s. I mean, he came out after Boyzone, after the 90s, after everything. I mean, it was.
Well, we had the civil partnership bill 10 years ago as a first step towards gay marriage, sort of thing, and I remember Leo in the Dáil at that stage, and he hadn't come out expressing reservations about gay adoption.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's always had this difficult relationship, both with his sexuality and the nature of how gay should be seen in Irish society. Maybe he's over that now, but it's something in the past he hasn't dealt with particularly well.
Yeah, I find it interesting because, again, it wasn't at a time when, I mean, it was an open door then. I mean, it was pushing against a very, very accepting and welcoming environment, I think, even compared to the 90s, even compared to the 80s,
Well, it was only legalized in 1993 when you think of it.
Yeah, well, he was. Yeah, I mean, he was still in school then, so.
Indeed. Yeah.
I mean, he anyway. Yeah. The Echo, again, your local paper, Dan. COVID rule breakers. People not taking threats seriously. This is not related to the photograph of the kids.
No. Even though they're not 6 foot apart, and not a mask in sight, but and they're not related. But I suppose the nature of the problem is that it's still within households that the greatest risk of infection is happening. And there's a lot of debate about zero COVID, and there's a lot of debate about foreign travel. But I was listening on one radio station today when they were talking to people who were being interviewed in Dublin Airport, and it sounded like that Conor McGregor's hapless fight at the weekend might turn out to be a super spreader event of its own. There seem to be several people coming back from Doha. The fact that there were so many people had the means to go to Doha, and never mind the ability to escape the country or to thumb a nose at the idea that we're not meant to go 5 kilometers outside our own house.
Yeah.
I think that's where the real rule breaking is happening.
Well, this is it. Yeah, the intro here says the Cork GP said he was amazed at the number of people who were out shopping when he called them with their COVID-19 test result. It's a bit gossipy, that, isn't it? That headline, like,
Well, yeah,
anecdotal, enough. Kind of.
Well, I know myself. I've kind of reduced the time I go shopping, but I live on my own, and I tend to try to use an excuse to buy a few small things in a shop most days, just for the excuse to get out. but I make sure I go to a different shop each time.
Oh yeah, okay, that's political. The Daily Telegraph, Sturgeon accused of siding with the EU on jobs. I think this is pretty obvious what she's at.
Well, and it's fairly obvious what the Telegraph is at as well. It's kind of high Tory, high England, kind of saying that how dare the Scots identify with the Europeans and not with we Brits. So it's part of the independence debate as well in Scotland. Boris went to Scotland yesterday or today, I think, and he was. I think that's a mistake. He's as hated in Scotland as Thatcher ever was, and he's seen as a kind of a recruiting sergeant for Scottish independence. That the more he intervenes and the more he speaks in the debate, the more likely independence seems to be likely to come about.
Yeah, I think that it's almost kind of inevitable now, really, isn't it?
Well, it's the how, really. They're going to keep refusing giving an official referendum after the assembly elections, which the Scottish nationalists will probably win an overall majority and quite a considerable one. But she'll want to avoid a situation like what happened in Catalonia a couple of years ago, when they went ahead with their own referendum and
ended up in prison.
International support, indeed, and now the run.
Yeah, I mean, Uh, how do you feel about using the vaccine as a kind of as a weapon in this?
Well, I think the debate about AstraZeneca and its availability and the EU versus UK, it's missing a bigger picture, because I mean, where the real injustice is that there should be a global approach. The developing world, Africa in particular. I heard a reference today that in Guinea they have 25 doses for the whole country.
Yeah.
And we're arguing about tens and thousands and hundred thousands of doses between countries in the developed world. So if we're serious about tackling the virus on a long-term basis, we should make sure that a vaccination program is equal throughout the world. And there doesn't seem to be any sincere attempt at that. In fact, we seem to be going in an opposite direction, that each country, especially the more wealthy they are, they're wanting to grab as much of the vaccine they can, and to hell with any other country who needs it.
Okay, well, more of this, EU could block millions of COVID vaccine doses from entering Britain. Fury of traders.
Yeah, the Wall Street thing is interesting about the gaming store whose stock has been bought out for short selling, and it's been countered by a lot of individuals through the internet, basically undermining what the Wall Street traders were trying to do, which was to buy stock and to buy it back cheaply, to give the impression that the stock was going up in price, and then buy it back cheaply when it collapses. And that's how they would have made their profit. But it's gone in an opposite direction. And I saw a figure, I'm not too sure whether it's changed, but the cumulative losses for the hedge funds have been as high as 70 billion for this particular
70 billion. Jeez.
70 billion, yeah.
Good Lord. That's
now, it'll probably end up collapsing for everyone who's invested, but it's you wouldn't feel sorry for the hedge funds in any case.
Yeah, and Wall Street have hit back, or at least.
Well, this is it. I mean, it's well known that it's easy to manipulate the stock market on behalf of those who want it manipulated, but they seem to be changing the rules again, and that small investors were prohibited from buying stock through using particular apps and through using particular buying mechanisms, and that was done solely to stop the momentum in increasing the stock prices. So the people who talk about free market don't like it when it's being used against them.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, we had they're rigging a game system, or they're gaming a rig system. PM insists Oxford Jab does work on over 65s. I doubt if anybody over 65 will take it, even if it has been at this stage.
Well, it is the British vaccine, I suppose, but they did approve it first, and they haven't given it to significant numbers of people over 65 in the UK. The Germans are supposed to be recommending that it be given to people only under 65, but that's because the data that they've been supplied and that the European body who give approval have been supplied with is saying that the number of people in that age group, 59 or 65 and over, who were tested upon were too small to know whether the efficacy was proper or not. So the Germans, being cautious, are saying that everyone else can use it because we can see those figures are safe, but the figures for the over 65s aren't. It doesn't mean that over 65s would be unsafe if it was taken, but there's no proof provided to the Germans or to the EU that it can.
Okay.
That's if they get the doses.
I'd heard a rate of 8% efficacy.
Well, I think that was a mistake. I think 8% was the level. It was the percentage in that age group who were in the study that AstraZeneca did, but the actual population figure, I think, is 14%. So it's an underestimate of the numbers of people who were there.
Gotcha. Yeah, but still a low rate apparently. I mean, and they denied it. The company anyway. This is facts, politics. Tony Blair doing his globalist thing, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, he means that sincerely. So.
Yeah, never miss a crisis or whatever.
Indeed.
fair deal for forgotten victims of COVID.
I found this fascinating because the Daily Express it's almost a newspaper that exists in aspic. Its readers are all over 65, as far as I can see, and this seems to be a fairly pathetic attempt to endear itself to a younger readership.
Yeah,
they don't have.
They're all on statins, or statin. What's that tablet?
For heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Express usually lead once a week on the heart medication.
Some health scare, and which is difficult when we're actually living through a health scare, so it doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah. Racing Post, are you?
I have a very good friend who is, and she manages to keep up with the racing that's going on.
A lot of doping scandals at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like it's to influence races, but not in the way you think. The use of sedatives, to me, seems to indicate that you're trying to slow down horses that might be likely to win races so that other horses would win them.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that. The very dramatic Financial Times. They see kind of, this is sort of Armageddon for these guys, because the curtains are being parted now, and we can see, like, they've shorted the short traders, so
yeah,
they've exposed the kind of system really as a. And
well, it's not like 2008, thankfully, in the sense that they're not financial institutions you're talking about, but. Yeah, and to be honest, stock exchanges are just glorified casinos. So it's they're not really necessary for how the world economy operates or how we live our lives.
But I suppose the house always wins, except with this.
This is it.
This is a fascinating thing. The UK Star, we don't give a monkey's. Experts say chimps can speak, but just can't be ours.
Well, I think that says more about British educational standards than anything else, to be honest. Well, it reminds me, it's going back a bit, but there was a famous sketch from not the 9 o'clock news, going back about 40 years ago, where Mel Smith and Ronan Atkinson in a gorilla suit, who was a talking gorilla, who was taught by this anthropologist, and he talks about David Bloody Attenborough.
He's quite pretentious, isn't he? So, like,
he is indeed. Well-educated gorilla.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks a lot, Dan, for joining us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Big plans this week? Are you cancelling?
Well, they're never that big, but I have 3 or 4 Zoom meetings and Microsoft Team meetings, and probably looking for excuses to walk and maybe see my daughter and her children, or my mother. I'll have to decide which. Again, like the shopping, I see one person every second day.
Hello to Dan's mum, because I want to say hello to my mum as well. Her Skype, or my Skype, is broken, so I can't Skype her. She's actually in Cork. Ring a bell, Dan.
Oh, very good. Yeah, well, not too far from where I am at the moment. I'm actually in Monkstown. So.
Oh, right. Yeah, her sister lives there in Monkstown. Sue Cogan, do you know her? Cogans.
Yeah, know the name. Yeah.
Car people from Cardiff.
Indeed.
Anyway, so hello to Dan's mum. We'll send this to her, will we? Does she use?
Well, of course. Yeah. No. She's she does the Woody Allen thing on me. You never ring, you never write, you never send an email, sort of thing.
Yeah, I get that. Well, particularly with this guy, Dan. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week, and look forward to your call next week as well. Thanks, Dan.
Pleasure.
Thank you, everybody. Bye now.